We all love a good underdog story, don't we? There is something deep inside of us that cheers for the little guy. We pull for the team that has no chance of winning. We applaud the person who stands up when everyone else sits down. These stories remind us that the size of your body doesn't determine the size of your spirit. They teach us that what seems impossible can become possible. They whisper a powerful truth into our hearts. You are stronger than you think. You have more courage than you know. These are the tales we carry with us, the ones that give us hope when our own challenges feel too big to face. These are not just stories for movies or books. They are blueprints for our own lives. They show us a path forward when we feel lost or afraid. When we see someone small overcome something big, it feels like we can too. It's a universal language of hope that everyone understands. We see a reflection of our own struggles in their journey. We see our own fears in the giants they face. And when they find the strength to fight back, we feel a spark of that same strength inside of us. It is a reminder that we are not defined by our limitations, but by our willingness to try. Think about the stories that you remember the most. Are they the ones where the hero was always strong, always perfect, and always expected to win? Or are they the ones where the hero was overlooked, underestimated, and had to dig deep to find their courage? We connect with these stories because they feel real. Life is full of moments where we feel small, and our problems feel gigantic. These tales assure us that being small is not a weakness. In fact, it can be a source of incredible strength. It forces us to rely on something more than just our own power. This is why the story of a young shepherd boy named David has been told for thousands of years. It is the ultimate underdog story. It is a story about facing a giant that no one else dared to face. It's a story about where true strength comes from. It isn't found in armor or swords or the loud shouts of an army. It is found in a quiet, steady heart that trusts in something bigger than itself. This story is for anyone who has ever felt too small, too weak, or too scared. It is a timeless reminder that with faith, even the smallest person can make a giant fall. Long ago in the land of Israel there was a young boy named David. He was not a soldier or a prince, he was a shepherd. His job was to watch over his father's sheep in the quiet hills outside of Bethlehem. He spent his days in the fields, not in the courts of kings. He knew the sounds of the wind and the names of the stars. His hands were skilled at using a simple slingshot to protect his flock from lions and bears. He was the youngest of his brothers, often forgotten and sent to do the tasks no one else wanted. He was, by all accounts, an ordinary boy living a simple life. But God does not see as people see. While others looked at David's older, stronger brothers, God looked at David's heart. He saw a courage and a faith that was pure and strong. So when the time came for a new king to be chosen for Israel, God sent the prophet Samuel not to the palace but to David's humble home. One by one, David's tall, impressive brothers were presented, but God said no to each of them. He was looking for something different. He was looking for a heart that was fully his, a heart that would lead with love and trust. When David was finally called in from the fields, he was just a boy with dirt on his hands and the smell of the outdoors on his clothes. He was not what anyone expected. He was not a warrior. He was not a man of great status. But God saw his future king. He saw the heart of a lion hidden within the frame of a shepherd boy. And so David was anointed, chosen for a destiny far greater than anyone could have imagined. This anointing did not make him a king overnight. It was a promise, a seed of greatness planted in his soul, waiting for the right moment to grow. This is where our story of courage truly begins. David did not immediately put on a crown or sit on a throne. He went back to his sheep. He went back to his simple life, carrying this incredible secret in his heart. He was a king in waiting, a hero in disguise. This time in the fields was not wasted. It was his training ground. It was where he learned to be patient, to be brave, and to trust God completely. Every predator he fought off, every lost sheep he rescued was preparing him for the biggest fight of his life. He was learning to face giants long before he ever saw one. While David was tending his sheep, the nation of Israel was paralyzed by fear. Their enemy, the Philistines, had gathered for war. Their army stood on opposite sides of a valley, a silent and tense standoff. But the Philistines had a secret weapon, a man so large he seemed more like a monster than a man. His name was Goliath. He was over 9 feet tall, a walking mountain of muscle and bronze. He wore a helmet and armor that weighed more than David himself. He carried a spear with a tip so heavy it would take a normal man both hands just to lift it. Every morning and every evening for 40 long days Goliath would stride out into the valley. His voice was like thunder, and it echoed off the hills, shaking the hearts of the Israelite soldiers. He would shout insults and challenges. He mocked their army, their king, and their God. "Send out a man to fight me," he would roar. "If he wins, we will be your slaves. But if I win, you will be our slaves." His words were a poison of fear that seeped into the camp. No one dared to answer his challenge. The bravest soldiers in Israel would hide in their tents. their courage melting away like snow in the sun. Imagine the feeling in that camp. The fear was a thick fog that you could almost touch. Every day the soldiers would hear Goliath's taunts and feel their hope shrink a little more. Their swords and shields felt like toys compared to the giant's massive weapons. Their king, Saul, who was the tallest man in Israel, was just as afraid as his men. The entire nation was held hostage by one man's terrifying presence. The problem was not a lack of soldiers, it was a lack of courage. They had forgotten who they were, and more importantly, they had forgotten who their God was. Goliath was more than just a big soldier. He was a symbol of an impossible problem. He was the giant of doubt, the giant of despair, the giant of fear. He represented every challenge that seems too big to overcome. He was the voice in your head that tells you that you are not good enough, not strong enough, not brave enough. The army of Israel believed that voice. They looked at the giant and saw only their own weakness. They measured his size and forgot to measure the size of their God. And so, they remained frozen, trapped in a valley of fear, waiting for a hero who was not coming. Into this valley of fear walked the young shepherd boy David. His father had sent him to the battlefront, not to fight, but to bring food to his older brothers. When David arrived, he did not see a powerful army. He saw a group of men terrified by one loudmouthed bully. He heard the insults of Goliath, and something inside of him stirred. It was not fear, it was a holy anger. He could not understand why everyone was so afraid. How could they let this man mock the armies of the living God? David saw the situation with different eyes. He saw it through the eyes of faith. David began to ask the soldiers, "What will be done for the man who kills this Philistine and removes this disgrace from Israel?" His questions were met with disbelief and scorn. His own oldest brother Eliab grew angry with him. He accused David of being arrogant and proud, of coming only to watch the battle. "Why did you even come down here?" Eliab sneered. "Who did you leave those few sheep with in the wilderness?" They saw him as just a little brother who was out of his place. They could not see the heart of a lion beating in his chest. They only saw a shepherd boy. But David was not discouraged by their doubts. He knew what God had done for him in the past. He went before King Saul and made a bold declaration. "Let no one lose heart on account of this Philistine. Your servant will go and fight him." Saul looked at this young boy with no armor and no experience in war, and he saw an impossible mismatch. "You are not able to go out against this Philistine and fight him," Saul said. "You are only a young man, and he has been a warrior from his youth." Saul saw the problem with human eyes, just like everyone else. He saw the small boy and the giant man. This is where David's true courage shines. His confidence did not come from himself, it came from his history with God. He told Saul his story. "Your servant has been keeping his father's sheep," David explained. "When a lion or a bear came and carried off a sheep from the flock, I went after it, struck it, and rescued the sheep from its mouth." He wasn't bragging, he was giving his resume of faith. He was reminding himself and the king that God had been with him before. The same God who delivered him from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear would deliver him from the hand of this giant. King Saul was moved by David's unwavering faith. Perhaps, a tiny spark of hope was lit in his own heart. He agreed to let David go, but he wanted to give him the best possible chance. So, he tried to dress David in his own royal armor. He placed a heavy bronze helmet on David's head and gave him a coat of mail to wear. He strapped his own sword to David's side. For a moment David looked like a real soldier. He looked the part, but this was not his armor. It was heavy, awkward, and unfamiliar. He tried to walk around in it, but honestly he could barely move. David knew immediately that this would not work. This was the world's way of fighting, not his. This was the armor of fear, designed to protect the body but doing nothing for the soul. To win this fight, he needed to be himself. He needed to rely on the tools and the faith that he knew. So with great respect, he took it all off. "I cannot go in these," he told Saul, "because I am not used to them." He chose to face the giant not as a weak imitation of a soldier, but as a strong and confident shepherd. He chose to trust what God had given him.